Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Friday afternoon. The USC commitment sweatshirt comes back on once again, and we got another monster one. Four-star cornerback Elbert Hill from the state of Ohio committing to USC. Now, I think what's unique about Elbert Hill is, I said four-star cornerback because that's what he's considered with the composite rankings. ESPN, 15th best player in the country, number one cornerback. Rivals has him as the 14th best player in the country, the number one cornerback in 2026. There are some people in the industry that are very high on what Elbert Hill can be at the collegiate ranks. And I'll put my hand up and say, you can put me in that category. Although maybe lacks the ideal frame for a boundary cornerback and might even play nickel for USC at times, this kid's movement skills, the ball skills that he has, there's a lot to like with what Elbert Hill is bringing to USC. I want to start with this, and we're going to get into Elbert Hill, and we're going to get into where this 2026 class is going next. We've given a lot of praise to Chad Bowden, the new general manager. Y'all know I think the world of him, and I think it's very clearly like this is the best front office we see in the country as we sit right now. They have come in and just revolutionized what USC is on the recruiting trail. We probably got to give a little bit more credit to the position coaches and what they're doing on the recruiting trail as well, like Doug Bell, Trevon Reed, what Coach Henney's doing on the defensive line, what Coach Hanson's doing on the offensive line. That's one of those underlying storylines that I feel like I personally have not given enough credit for. Lincoln Riley, when he took this job at USC, that coaching staff early on in his tenure was not good enough. They weren't recruiting well enough. They weren't developing players well enough. You look at the changes that Lincoln Riley has made, not only in the front office, like that's clearly a positive, but what the coaching staff is doing in terms of acquiring talent on the recruiting trail, we got really good coaches when it comes to developing players. Y'all know how I feel about guys like Dan Lynn, but we also got really good position coaches that can recruit really good players to USC as well. When you check off the box of player development and talent acquisition, that's what you need. That's how you become a national championship caliber program. Give all the credit in the world to Chad Bowden and this USC front office. A lot of credit to the position coaches that this USC team has as well, because they're getting it done on the recruiting trail as well. Fired up to get into Elbert Hill, fired up to kind of talk about where USC is going next in the 2026 class. Before we get into it, as always, I have to give a shout out to the USC fans. We've talked a lot about this program over the last couple of days. The support y'all have thrown on Twitter, the support that y'all have thrown in the comment section, I see it all, and I can't tell you how much that means to the boys. It's been a blast breaking down the commitments, and the amount of support y'all have shown has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Elbert Hill. First things first, this kid is a two-way difference maker, right? You look at him, he lines up as a running back, lines up as a wide receiver, obviously as a defensive back as well. The ball skills are incredible. His sophomore year had 7 interceptions. His junior year, he had 4 interceptions. When that football is in the air, Elbert Hill is only 5'10", maybe a $175. And that $175 may be soaking wet. There's a lot of frame that can be filled out there. He does not play small at all. I mean, he is not afraid to go up, see the ball at the highest point, and go make plays. And, we talk about this a lot. What do we look for in cornerbacks at the high school ranks? We look at the ball skills. I love when cornerbacks come into the collegiate ranks, have extensive experience playing wide receiver, because know what that means? They're comfortable with the football in the air. How many cornerbacks do we see at the collegiate ranks who have the length, have the size, have the speed, but they just panic when the football is in the air? It's not Elbert Hill. In fact, that's probably the best part of his game. Even though he's not the biggest, the ball skills are legit for Elbert Hill. The 11 interceptions over the last 2 years at the high school ranks certainly backs that up. Really smooth mover as well. The other thing I like about Elbert Hill, I think he can probably be a versatile chess piece in this defense. I think he can play boundary cornerback, even though he's a little bit shorter, sawed-off cornerback. I think he can play on the boundary. Could probably be very, very good at nickel. Also probably could be a really good safety. Like, you're just getting a really good athlete coming into your program and say, hey, we'll figure out the best place to play a guy like Elbert Hill, but there's no question he's going to make a difference somewhere in the back end of this USC defense, whether it's at boundary, whether it's at nickel, whether it's at safety. Start diving into the film, and we kind of fast forwarded, and look, as much as I want to sit here and watch him on offense too, I kind of wanted to focus on what he does on the defensive side of the football. I will say this, working through some of his junior year stuff, I was intrigued about what he could be on the offensive side of the football too. There's some legitimate juice when he has the football in his hands. Maybe that'll play out in special teams over his career at USC. You start getting into the stuff at cornerback. Number one, really smooth mover, has all the long speed that you want. And again, when that football's in the air, he's just so comfortable going up and making plays. And again, I don't care that he's 5'10" because he knows how to utilize all of that frame that he has going up, making a play on the football. Again, that wide receiver background plays a really big part in terms of what Elbert Hill can be as a cornerback, as a defensive back. Once again, football in the air, we're fighting hands, making a play on the ball. It's a ball hawking cornerback. 11 interceptions over the last 2 years, and you see that all over the film. How about this? You're playing a little bit more nickel safety-ish, eyes on the quarterback and zone coverage. He's really good in man coverage because of that elite movement skills and the twitch. He's got some good instincts too, like reading the quarterback's eyes, covering a lot of ground right here and playing the football. That should excite a lot of USC fans. Not only are you getting an athlete that I think is really good, so it's a really good football player too, with some really high IQ out there on the football field. Continue to work through the film. And again, press man coverage, he can do that. Not afraid to put hands on wide receivers, squeeze them out to the boundary, get his head around, find the football, and then go play the football. I mean, again, how many defensive backs do we see even at the college ranks just panic when that football is in the air? Elbert Hill doesn't. Continuing to work through it. There's just a lot to like about what Elbert Hill brings. How about the long speed? This is freeze frame right here. You're going to tell me number one is going to hawk down this kid? Because that's exactly what he's going to do. Look at the long speed. One, you love the effort. Like, no, you want kids who play like this on the football field. But number two, I mean, look at the amount of ground that this kid can cover, and you're going to see it once again. I mean, he burns. You freeze frame this. You're saying we got 50 yards until he's walking through the end zone. You're saying Elbert Hill's going to catch him. Yeah, he absolutely does. A lot of effort, a lot of long speed, good at the point of attack. This is the play where it's like, hey, why do I like him at nickel? Love what he does firing downhill. Close the gap. Perfect fit. I mean, that's what you want in a nickel corner. I think that's where he might play for USC. Continuing to work through it, battle in hands, really, really sticky in man coverage. Let's look at this class in 2026. I mean, you have 14 of the top 200 players in the country. For those who are not that good at math like myself, I had to put it into my phone. That is 7% of the top 200 players across the country, as we sit right now, are committed to USC. That's probably going to change as USC continues to build this class out. We got a lot of storylines to follow or to kind of cover over the next couple of days. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple more kind of join the fold. The name in the secondary that I'm looking for is Devon Benjamin from Oaks Christian. That sounds like it's going to be a USC-Oregon battle. And once again, very similar to what happened with Kenny Pepe. I mean, USC's made up a ton of ground. A couple months ago, I don't think USC was a real contender for Devon Benjamin. Now, all of a sudden, USC arguably leads for him. We'll see where USC decides to go. I think you're still looking at Brandon Arrington to kind of round out what – I mean, you get Brandon Arrington, and you look at this cornerback class. I mean, we talked about the offensive line yesterday. I mean, our RJ Sermon's really considered the best cornerback in the class. Brandon Lockhart, top 10 cornerback. Elbert Hill, top 5 cornerback. Brandon Arrington, probably the best just pure athlete that you see in the entire country. Devon Benjamin, clearly to me the best safety. As much as we talked about building the trenches, and we love that USC's building the trenches, this secondary class has the opportunity to be special. We'll see if USC can close on Brandon Arrington, Devon Benjamin. If I were to predict the next commitment, I might go to Lona Illy. I think that seems to be trending in the right direction. That kind of rounds out your elite front seven class in 2026. A lot of buzz. And I don't think this USC commitment sweatshirt is going anywhere. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.